What's going on? My name is Hayden Park. I'm 21 years old. I am a senior, and I'm an ag econ major and a double entrepreneurship minor.
Can you just tell me about a story that has impacted your life or any life-altering events that have brought you up to the person that you are today?
Absolutely. So specifically, there was one point in my life where I was 13 years old, where I had ringworm on my feet, or so we thought at the time. And so I was playing football, I was playing lacrosse, and when we were trying to figure out how to fix this, we were using whatever we were at the time, honestly, just trying to fix it, but it was getting worse. And it was starting to turn purple, it was starting to turn black, and it was starting to hurt a lot more than what ringworm should have. And so through when I was going through 13 to 14 years old, we were going to multiple different doctors and doing all these different kinds of surgeries because we didn't know what was going on. And so finally we had gotten to a rheumatologist at Texas Children's, and they had diagnosed my condition. It was called livedoid vasculopathy. And so livedoid vasculopathy is a mouthful, one. And two, it's an autoimmune disease that affects my lower extremities, my legs and my feet, and more specifically my feet. And so kind of going through that, just going through it real quick, it causes, with autoimmune, my body attacks itself. And so when that happens and my body is not doing too well, I get holes in my feet, essentially. And they are extremely painful. I have lost over 80% of the nerve damage in my feet, but yet I still feel a lot of pain, and it affects my body when the disease starts to flare up real bad. And so life altering, I'd say the biggest thing, it has shaped me to who I am today because of what I have seen and what I have gone through. And so I think one example of kind of what I was seeing at the time was there was a lot of little children at the hospital that were getting treatments as similar as I was. And so because there's no cure or hardly any research done on this disease, we considered it as kind of like cancer treatments. So some people would get chemo, or I would get how you give plasma, or some people give plasma. So that plasma is what keeps me alive, basically. And so a lot of times, there would be these little kids getting similar treatments, but they were a lot worse off than I was. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is bad for me, but they're struggling a whole lot worse. And then there was one time specifically where we were talking to these people next to us, and they had a 5-year-old daughter who was having to dump her blood every other day and get new blood pumped back into her. And so we're like, wow, we think ours is bad, theirs is much worse. And then we went back a month later, because we were kind of on a month-to-month basis on getting these treatments. And so we had asked the doctors, hey, how is this little girl doing? And they had told us that she had passed away a week before I got there. And so going through the Texas Children's process up till 15 to 18, that happened more often than what we thought. And it has shaped my mind to think a little differently. It's made me a lot more grateful for what I have today, because one, I'm here and I get to live my dream. I mean, I'm a senior now, and I got my ring the other day. And that was kind of one example of how I think differently and how it has altered just my life altogether, more specifically. Yeah.
Wow. So would you say living nowadays with this disease, is it oftentimes scary or nerve-wracking, just the thought of the unknown in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you, I had a treatment this past week, and I was extremely nervous about going into it. And I'll give you a little backstory of why I was really nervous. So there's been a couple times that I went into anaphylactic shock. And so when I went into anaphylactic shock, my heart had stopped the first time for about a minute. And I remember, a lot of people, they have a lot of different experiences with going through that. But when video games, for example, it was kind of like a video game where the screen just kind of shuts off, and then it's black, and then all of a sudden you're back. And that's exactly how it was then and we were really nervous and such. And then they put me under more medication, and I went to sleep, and my body was able to kind of relax a little bit. And I can remember waking up, and like my mom was crying to the doctor, like profusely crying, and I'm like, I'm just coming out of the medicine. I'm trying to figure it out a little bit. And the only thing I really remembered from it was the doctor explaining to my mom of how lucky I was to continue to be at that hospital. Because if I was to get back into that car and drive all the way back to Houston and be stuck in that traffic at 5 o'clock, I would not have lived at that time. And so kind of going through that, what was the question really?
How do you process the fear of the unknown?
So it's been a kind of a weird process from that, because sometimes, because like you would think that like after those couple moments that had happened twice, like you would kind of be lifted back up, like, oh wow, I can think a little differently. That was not my case at all. It actually brought me down to my lowest that I've ever been in my life. And it's been like, I guess the process from that was, at the time it was being involved in the church at all times. Like me and my family were very involved. We're there Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. You know how it goes. Mm-hmm. And so, and it was a weird process, because like no one could really relate to what I was feeling. And then sometimes when I would tell people like what I'm going through, they wouldn't believe me. And so that was really hard on me. But at the end of the day, like I had to wake up and I had to make a choice. And so I think one thing that I've learned throughout this process is the only thing I can control about this is my attitude. And so some days it'll be worse than others, but you know, I've had to come to terms with it, that like this is happening, and that I can't always be scared about it, because that's, being scared will get to me and it'll bring me down. And I can't go throughout my day and the week kind of just being down like that. I have to continue to push forward, and it has been so difficult. But at the end of the day, it's been like a huge blessing to kind of go through that process, because a lot of people have not gone through what I've gone through. And, you know, it's something that I value a whole lot, even though it's been hard times for me and my family. You know, it's, the process has been nothing short of amazing. And, I'm just very thankful for, one, I'm still here today. And, you know, it's just, I don't know, just going through those little things and kind of working, like relying on my people, my parents, my friends, you know, the church. And even to this day, I have to rely on my friends a lot, because like they're like, oh Hayden, well we understand, like we're here for you. And you know, it's I appreciate that a whole lot, but yeah, at the end of the day, I have to bring myself together and continue to push forward, so that knowing when I go to the hospital that it's going to be okay, and I don't have to worry about those kind of things. And so the process has been hard, but that's what life is, in my opinion. Life's not easy. And so just kind of finding different things to make myself happy and to kind of distract myself of what's really going on has been kind of those key drivers to where my mindset is today. Yeah.
Wow.